all of the laws that have been written recently have appeared to be laws that silence the public from asking questions. It is why the media that is protected by the Constitution to be the voice of the people has chosen to be defender of the oligarchs and have blocked all the strong voices, especially mine. We have a situation in Trinidad and Tobago where there are people who are suddenly wealthy and cannot explain their wealth. Again, this requires a citizen's response. Your government took a duly debated procurement bill legislation to protect the citizens and the treasury from corruption, from government corruption, and removed the safeguards so as to legitimize and facilitate government corruption. In other words, Trinidad has been looted by successive governments, principally PNM governments. And because by the time Eric Williams was dead, Trinidad, that earned a fast $1 trillion US, had nothing to show for it. When the recession hit, the country collapsed. Businesses dried up and disappeared. And then others who cannot account for their wealth stepped in and bought up the assets and resources of those businesses. And we've never had a government willing to take all of this to task. Now, when you get suddenly wealthy, is one of three things happen. You have come up with, and I'm not talking rich, I'm talking wealthy, it's a different thing. You've come up with something that the world needed, like when Bill Gates came up with Windows, or when he copied Windows from Apple. But he was able to provide, WhatsApp provided a service, Facebook provided a service, Apple phones provided a service. The people who invented microwaves, people who made black and white TV, color, the flat screen TV, you provide a service to the world. But nobody in Trinidad has provided a service that the nation needed or the world needed to justify sudden wealth. We've not cured any diseases here after we identified the cause of rabies, but that was before the PNM. But we've never had a situation where anything of global value or even national value happened in the private sector. So that's not a justification for the sudden wealth. There are only two other options left. There are contraband trades, human trafficking, and arms and ammunition earns money. But because of our location in the world, the illegal narcotics trade that is so frighteningly huge that when they test the water in the Thames River in England, they can detect a level of cocaine in that water that came from users pissing it out. They test, broad spectrum test, mass spectrometer of the Thames River, however you want to pronounce it, on a daily basis to monitor the health of the city. And without telling you what is a Saturday, you could tell a Saturday because there is a spike in ecstasy traces from Friday night, pissed out into facilities that end up in the river. And they can account for ecstasy for Friday night use. But cocaine is high Monday to Friday, Monday to Monday. Cocaine use is high every day. And that's England. America is worse. Now, the cocaine manufacturers in Colombia, Mexico, Venezuela, and other South American countries, where they grow and transform cacao into cocaine, those countries use countries like Trinidad and Tobago that has lax border protection, corrupt government as pipelines to get cocaine into America and Europe. Trinidad is a massive narcotics pipeline. There is no way now, sitting here tonight, to quantify. There are people high up in the police service who could tell you that they guess the size based on what we've intercepted. And they say that if you say that we intercepted in March, April, May, June, different times, different years, that we could extrapolate an estimation, because cocaine is manufactured in massive, massive volumes. And what we call a kilo of coke, I have been told, costs $1,000 US in Colombia. It is $1,000 US for a kilo of coke in Colombia. But when it gets to America, because of how difficult it is worth hundreds of thousands of US dollars. And they budget to buy 100 kilos and lose 90. Once 10 get through, they make massive profit for all. In Trinidad, there are two ways to become wealthy. To be involved, and I'm not talking rich, I'm not talking a successful business. I am talking about wealth that does not add up. I am talking about community spread. I am talking about banks have told me that there are people in this country whose money have no end. Now, we've made, as a country, according to our budgets, $3 trillion. We've made that in the energy sector, oil and gas, over the 58, 59 years that we exist as a country. So we've made that, and we have nothing to show for that. So that means that in a short period of time, not 58 years, because we were broken to thief in 1985. The country was so broken in 1985 that when the new government came to office in 1986, it couldn't pay salaries. We had to go to the International Monetary Fund, a country that made $1 trillion in 10 years before. $1 trillion. $1,000 billion. We made $1,000 billion in 10 years, and then we had nothing. And I mean, there are government ministers in this country, and there are people winning national awards who own mountains of real estate, mountains. It is ridiculous the kind of money some people have and cannot explain that. And it is ridiculous that the People's National Movement, Balize House, the arbiter of all corruption and theft in this country, cannot tell us where that first $1 trillion went. People say things like, I mean, I understand communication well. If I was manufacturing cigarettes, I would make a brand called Coffin Nails. I'd make a brand called Cancer Sticks. Because people who choose to smoke now don't care. They don't care. They don't believe you. To them it's a joke. So if you tell them that every cigarette is a coffin nail, they laugh at you and laugh with you and light it up. Cancer Sticks as well. So when they said and they used this to bend the narrative, to bend the story, they say it passed through the country like a dose of salts. What that meant? What does that mean? To pass through the country like a dose of salts, $1 trillion. I want you to understand, to banks, moving that kind of money in transactions is a big job. In Trinidad, in 4 years, we had some massive, our version of savings and loans popped up. There was a famous one by a fellow named Louis Gilman Thomas Hussein. And I think that was called International Trust, if I'm not mistaken. And there were a bunch of them that sprung up. I knew the owners of one defunct of these companies. And he said to me, people were reversing station wagons into their company, and it is full of stacks of blue notes for them to hold. We don't want interest. Just find somewhere to hold it. And there was nobody then, and there is nobody now who is going after those criminals. But a couple years ago, a man was on trial for breaking into Stevens and Johnson's on Frederick Street. And that case ran for 25 years. That man had for $100 worth of goods. But his case ran for 25 years. When I tell people that he broke into Stevens and Johnson's, there is a generation and a half that have come to full maturity that don't know what Stevens and Johnson's is. And to those who don't, that was a massive store. It was the merging of two huge stores, Stevens and J.T. Johnson, to form a company called Stevens and Johnson's. It was massive. We had companies in Trinidad before the 80s, like Macal, like Kirpalani's, like Ross Drugs. Superfarm, not as big as Ross Drugs is yet, was. Ross Drugs was in every community, in every constituency. Ross Drugs went into receivership and disappeared in the recession of the 80s. But there were people who, despite the fact that the rest of the country lost everything, there were people who had money, suitcases of money, that nobody asked then where this money came from. How do you come to have all of this money? And there are people who are mad as hell at me for being the only voice that brings the conversation back to this. There is no politician. There is no activist. There is no talking head. No psychic. No security guard. No bodyguard. They have none of these people who come on Facebook to do live videos who understand why Laventille Hill, 100 years older than Goodwood Park Hill, you could sell the whole of Laventille Hill and the money you get can't buy one property in Goodwood Park. And I know why. But I cannot say, because I live in a country where you cannot talk about white-collar criminals and you can't talk about white-collar crime. At the very least, you'll get a defamation lawsuit. At the very least, you will get a defamation lawsuit. And I don't understand on what our justice system is built. I don't understand how people who sit in high office, if they have integrity, are not asking, I am living in a big house in Fairways or Goodwood Park because of my work and because of what I'm paid and because of what I've done decently, and there are people with properties 4 and 5 times the size on the left, on the right, and across the street. How are you not asking questions? How is it not? A woman asked tonight, surely they have people who think in this country who could solve these problems. These problems are not insurmountable. No, they're not. But I told her, because I watched and I waited to see if anybody was going to respond to her, and nobody was responding to her. And I told her, Trinidad is too lazy, we hypocritical, and at best, we hoping somebody break off a piece of what they teeth and give to us too. We don't care if you are the worst kind of criminal crook, you know. We don't care if there is no justifying how you get our money, you know. Once you have that money, we with you. We will defend criminality of the highest level just to be able to go by them and lime and eat and play video games. Just for that. There's a man in Maraval who boasts to me that he's a bagman for politicians, plural. He says, wash money, and you can't do me nothing. You can't win no seat in Maraval, you can't win no seat in Diego Martin. He tell me he's wash money, that's his job. Now, I don't understand how we could not yet have a nation who could have interests. I watch people who left Trinidad 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago that living in America that could tell you what brand of jockey shorts Trump wears and why Biden's tighty whities are better than Trump's. But when they were in Trinidad, they couldn't give an ass if Friday fall on Tuesday. They don't care. Didn't care about anything. We live in a country where tonight our waste management system, the labas and everything around it, is so corrupt. We are renting equipment to operate inside the labas, and the equipment costs could buy equipment every single month. We are so dokey in this country that we don't know that our waste handling, Solid Waste Management Company Limited, and everything that's happening in the Beetham dump and in Claxton Bay and anywhere else they're handling solid waste or any kind of waste, we don't know that we are poisoning ourselves and poisoning our country. I'm not using that word lightly. I went into the dump. I got to the heart of the dump. They call it tipping point, ironically. And it is where the trucks are literally opened and emptied and their contents crushed. You know how we handle waste in this country? We drive a tractor over what comes out of the truck and crush it into what was there before. And we keep crushing till it reaches a certain height. And tomorrow, we're going to move to another location and empty all the trucks there and crush all of that into one another and till that height is high like this. And then we're going to go to our next location. So what we're basically building is a mountain of toxins and poison that is leaching into the groundwater that goes to Wassa, that comes in your pipe, that is leaching into the well, that bottled water companies are bottling water. Now this The ones who do in reverse osmosis may be taking out the heavy metals and the toxins. And I'm not in a position to tell you what anybody's manufacturing process is. But I am in a position to tell you that if you were to test the drinking water in your tap tonight, there would be an unacceptable level of chemical compounds and feces in the water. And I don't know what system WASA is using. But I'm saying to you that if you knew that all of the waste, all of the hospital waste, the industrial waste, the commercial waste, all of it that goes into the labas, that is crushed and gets dried and becomes dust and then blows away across Trinidad and Tobago. Dust, toxic dust, spores, bacteria. They opened a tomb in Egypt and found bacteria thriving. And that tomb wasn't open for 2,000 years. We think that the devil could take tomorrow and accept that and don't care until we get a diagnosis for one of our loved ones, leukemia. There is a massive rise in Trinidad and Tobago of pancreatic cancer. Natalie Sabga's husband, who runs the Purple Foundation, he died from pancreatic cancer. Johnny Gonzalez of Digicel Rising Star, Johnny Gonzalez, the musician, he died from pancreatic cancer. And that's just some popular names. There is a massive spike in pancreatic cancer and leukemia. Nobody's talking to our doctors. Nobody's giving our doctors the opportunity to speak and to tell you that this country has per capita too high heart disease, too high diabetes, and too high cancer per capita for the population for where we live in the world. Nobody's telling you that. Nobody's. And that, all of that is happening because all of the money that is supposed to be for a proper waste management system is farmed out in contracts. That's the nature of the game, contracts. We have people in Trinidad and Tobago who they're in the dog washing business, they're in the banking business, they're importing shoes, they're importing cars, they're in everything. And they're in government contracts, building roads, sidewalks, schools. In the second half of the 20th century, the concept of state capture was used in the early critique of the pluralist theoretical framework in political science. According to pluralism, a multiplicity of interest groups prevents any particular group from being dominant. However, the counter-argument, and this is our condition, was that interest groups are not equally endowed with resources. Stick up in. If a business community appropriates to itself $100 million, $100 million is retirement money, go see the world money, rain on the strippers money, or it's seed money to capture the state. To capture the state, you need corrupt politicians and a broken, non-functional system of governance. Now, Trinidad and Tobago, nothing works. Fazir Mohammed is talking about customs, and now everything about customs blowing up. And at some point, the police, the DPP, the Prime Minister, somebody has to get involved in customs. Somebody in customs has to make a big jail. And it can't be no one-stripe man, because it ain't no one-stripe man organized what is going on in customs and excise. What is going on in customs and excise is nothing short of extortion, holding a nation by the balls to ransom. If you bring in goods and you have to go and they tell you that you are getting an appointment a month from now. A man messaged me. He said, boss, I am trying to clear goods for an importer who brought in perishable COVID-19 refrigerated tests. And they told me a month. They told me a month. I told them it cannot last that long. They said, go back to your boss and tell them if it's important to them, they know what to do. Apparently, you can pay money. You can pay money to accelerate your date. Like the passport office. It always amuses me that the passport office cannot deliver your passport because there is a backlog. But if you pay them money, you get accelerated. Now, simple maths will tell you, if there is a real backlog and you pluck somebody from the back and you pull them to the front because they've paid, everybody else move back one step. And every time you do that, you're pushing genuine people who were supposed to be taken care of and had their passport done, you're pushing them back. If you're telling me that that money is bringing out extra workers to work extra time, then the entire immigration department needs to be fired. Because clearly we could handle it if we wanted to. But we're living in a country now where clipboard politics is trying to match what's going on in the government and the cabinet. I want to show you the kind of jackasses. Jackasses. You see, people used to tell me, Phillip, you can't be calling these people jackasses. Fuad Khan, that jackass, in trying to defend Keith Rowley's using a private institution instead of the public health that Keith Rowley has been in charge of for the last 6 years, that Fuad Khan was in charge of for the 5 years before, as 11 years. And each of those years, $5 billion was spent on public health. So for 6 years of Rowley and 5 years of Fuad Khan, we spent $55,000 million on public health. For 11 years of my and everybody else's life, we spent $55,000 on public health for each and every man, woman, and child in this country, and have nothing of value to show for it. Now, the people who defending Keith Rowley don't realize that they're also defending Fuad Khan's failure. Now, Fuad Khan is no longer welcome in the UNC. He's served whatever purpose he could possibly serve, and they've sent him on his way. So now, like others, he has to cozy up to the PNM and bring his substantial Indianness, because the media will happily broadcast that Fuad Khan says that it is okay for Keith Rowley to go to private public health without asking Fuad Khan, who was a former health minister, why that might be so. Why is our public health so damn nasty? But we don't do that in Trinidad because the media's job is not to be journalists. The media's job is to hoodwink the population. You see, I've been fighting a single battle for the past, I don't know how long I'm doing these live videos, 5 years? I've been fighting a battle to undo the miseducation of Trinbagonians. Today, again, we're discussing what took place in Tobago, where a group of businessmen bought a piece of land from a private person for $7 million, sold it to the THA for $12 million. The THA then turned around and rented the same land back to them for $10 a month for 199 years. And that land, they built a building that they're renting to the THA for $1.2 million a month. Now the level of wrong in that sentence that should shock you and send your blood curdling is not as important as my next statement. What I just said to you that should piss you off is not as bad as what I am about to tell you. What I'm about to say is that in Trinidad and Tobago, that entire transaction is legal and protected by law. That no wrongdoing by law, like how apartheid, no wrongdoing, you kick a black man out your place and kick him across the street. You kick him with your boots in his face, and you call the police and you report him for scuffing your boots with his face. Like how that was legal. Like how it was legal for England to buy people and bring them to America and put them to work growing tobacco to sell Cravenets and Du Maurier and Dunhill. They were growing tobacco and cotton, but it was legal to trade in human beings for free labor. In Trinidad and Tobago, corruption is legal, and you are not going to fix it as long as the argument that you are having with yourself and others is about what is legal. What we're supposed to be talking about is what is right. What is right? I want you to research a statement by a judge who had to throw out a case because his own aide corrupted the case. And he said that even though I know that there is guilt and there is innocence in this matter, I cannot adjudicate, and the entire matter has to be dismissed because justice must not only be done, but it must be seen to be done. And the reason he said that is so that people would have faith in the justice system. Because when you stop having faith in the justice system, in kangaroo courts, in countries that are best called dictatorships, people could give evidence on you that you could never cross-examine, that the court could decide to take their testimony and accept it as fact, whether it's true or not. In a nation where lawyers were aware that a witness was lying in a murder case and took no steps to free those wrongfully incarcerated. This is a Trinidad and Tobago that cannot be fixed as long as we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, are prepared to play foolish race games instead of asking of those in public office to do their jobs properly, to give us laws that protect all of us, a level play field. It is like the pandemic, COVID-19, and the Public Health Act that does not give the police the power to enforce the law even-handedly. So COVID-19 is starting to make the police appear bullies and unprofessional. The opposite of what Gary Griffith wants. Because Gary Griffith wants to renew the police service to something that people could trust. Something that people will pick up the phone and call and make a report about somebody they know doing something wrong. But you can't have that happen if people are afraid to pick up the phone in case the police officer call the person and tell them, hey, your friend reporting you. There are people who tell me they prefer to take a chance and go away and automate their lights and have friends come and water the plants and pick up newspaper rather than tell the police that they'll be gone for a week because they don't trust the police. And that is not good. If we are getting to a place where the people don't trust the media, can't trust offices of state, mistrusting law enforcement, there's going to come a time. History is replete with this story. We have thousands of years of recorded history. Trinidad is no different. And all of the freshwater Yankees that we've made are going to look back and say, tut, 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 I saw it coming, that's why I got out. But if you saw it coming, why you didn't get in? If you saw it coming, why you didn't involve yourself in the process? There are people who leave and go to countries where the citizens of those countries have risked life and limb and treasure to make those countries work. Everybody who signed the Declaration of Independence were charged with treason by the King of England and sentenced to death by hanging. It wasn't carried out because England couldn't get into America to reclaim the colonies, thanks to France. But that's history for you all to go and read for yourself. But the point I'm trying to make is, when they wrote the Declaration of Independence, it wasn't a hallmark moment. It wasn't romance. It was seizing the country from the king. And if you have any idea what that meant in terms of law, the king was the absolute authority then. And a decree from the king sends the whole Royal Navy to destroy the colonies and to hang those usurpers. In our country, Trinidadians and Tobagonians would rather fight stupid race wars. The PNM or agents sympathetic or supportive of the PNM have printed flyers with Kamala's face in the center and Watson Duke and the rest of the PDP around her saying, together we something. And that is supposed to scare Tobagonians. But the only thing in that from which Tobagonians could draw fear is her Indian face. Because dollar for dollar and minute for minute and day for day, both UNC governments, you can say what you want about Pandey. Pandey dealt with a $9 oil. Now I could argue, I could play both sides of a game of chess, you know. I could play the black side and the white side. I could play myself in a game. So I could tell you everything Pandey did wrong. But I could also tell you everything Pandey did right. And Pandey gave this country a school place for every child when oil was $9 a barrel, something that Williams and Chambers couldn't do when they had oil at $45. $45 a barrel. Pandey had it at $9. Pandey rebuilt the police stations. Pandey built Piarco Airport for them to thief the billion. And I want to tell you this, they have a joke. A fella made a joke since 9/11. Since 9/11, they become more and more restrictive of what you could take on a plane with you because it could be considered a weapon. And they would keep adding stuff. You can't bring clear liquids. After the shoe bomber, man put a bomb in a shoe. After the shoe bomber, everybody have to take off their shoes. And for some reason, tweezers were banned. And this comic said, listen, if you could hijack a plane with a tweezers, you deserve the plane. And I agree. And if Pandey could have done everything that he did with a $9 a barrel oil and still thief $1 billion, they deserve the $1 billion. Because PNM at $45 a barrel thief everything in the country. We paid 19 times what we were supposed to pay to build Central Bank in Port of Spain. When they were digging to put piles to build a foundation, they thought they were going China. Nobody checked. Nobody knew. They were just building this building because we have money to spend. Let it rain. We built Mount Hope Hospital in a vacuum-sealed air-controlled tent to say that we are building the most up-to-date hospital, technologically advanced. That Mount Hope, we built that. We never finished Mount Hope. We spent all the money. Eric Williams spent $1 billion then to build something called a Caroni Racing Complex. They never even finished cut the ground for the foundation. All the money gone. All PNM ministers were sitting down in cabinet meetings to find out where the highway running next so they could go and buy land. You think that it is only this crop of ministers know how to do that? PNM stole $1 trillion in 10 years. By the time the world economy collapsed for the recession, when the oil price fell, because once we dropped below $15, we were in a recession. Recession is 2 or 3 consecutive quarters of negative growth. And if it is costing more to drill the oil than it is to sell the oil, we're in a negative position. And in that recession, there was nothing. It is Bas Deo Pandey that created the Heritage and Stabilization Fund that the PNM fight. I found out today we have $6 billion in a green fund that is not being used to take care of the waste management of this country. $6 billion properly invested in this economic climate worldwide could earn you $300 million interest a year. You don't have to touch that $6 billion. You could take $300 million because sift, sort, self-liquidate. We could put the responsibility for the plastic bottles on the plastic manufacturers and the plastic importers, because that represents 20% of the volume of our landfill trash. We could make our waste management effective, clean. We could protect our water courses. We could protect our groundwater. A lot of the water that you see Wassa digging in wells that go down to the aquifer, the water in those aquifer, millions of years old, down there that long. And the reason you're not supposed to drive on the savannah is because the savannah sits on one of the biggest aquifers. Chagaramas does as well. And the reason you're not supposed to even use spray chemicals in Chagaramas is because it will eventually leach into the aquifer. And for a while, I don't know if this is still the case, but for a while, Chagaramas well water was the benchmark, the gold standard for water purity and water quality in this part of the world. I don't know if that's the case now because they've developed it at a clip. Everybody have a restaurant and a bar and something to swing from, and animals and zoos and safaris. I mean, they carve up Chagaramas, this PNM. This PNM carved up Chagaramas, and it is hateful. What is going on in this country right now, what is happening is that we are losing. Trinidad and Tobago. I interrupted myself reading to you the definition of state capture. I told you, and I was trying to make the point, that activist groups and unions and people that represent social response don't have the money, the $100 million that the business community might have as seed capital to engage in state capture. So to say that the situation will correct itself because all groups have equal power is an incorrect statement, because all groups don't have equal leverage. Many commentators argue that business represents a very strong power system, far stronger than any other social group or institution, that challenges and threatens to dominate public power. The term capture describes how public bureaucracies had become dominated by strong and powerful interest groups in a context characterized by a complex. I saw our budget before it was read. And I saw it because I know the business community that wrote our budget. And I'm saying that to you because that information was given to me. How much input a certain business organization had in our budget. In a context characterized by a complex multitude of interest groups, the bureaucrats tend to deal with the best organized groups as a way of reducing complexity. State capture has been used in the critique of corporatism as well. Corporatism refers to the permanent representation of well-organized hierarchical interest groups in the state apparatus, a phenomenon that may be seen as a way of the state giving in to specific interests. Let's talk road paving now. Let's talk road paving. In a country that you don't see tenders being given out, you don't see tenders being given out for major public works, you just see let the money rain. Right now, we are about to build an overpass. China Railway and I believe Junior Sammy together are going to build $1 billion overpass in Diego Martin that nobody in Diego Martin wants or needs. At a time when taxes are running this country, we are living on savings. We chipping up to run the country. How do we sit idly by and know that $1 billion is going to be spent on an unnecessary piece of infrastructure and you're giving children used laptops? 14. Big media presentation for you to give 14 used laptops. Both the critics of pluralism and the critics of corporatism argue that private corporate power must be controlled by democratic institutions. And this is what I have said for decades. Capitalism without controls, capitalism without compassion is a prescription for confusion. Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago. In the literature on post-colonial societies, enter Trinidad and Tobago. The concept of state capture refers to rulers favoring their own ethnic or regional groups rather than the nation as such. The state is thereby captured by a specific group. So in Trinidad, we've been captured by race vote. The PNM, even though it has less numbers of ethnic support than the UNC, it was better able to corrupt with funding outside of the traditional system, was able to corrupt. Listen. Hear this. I need to read this there. While the average Tobagonian continues to pay exorbitant rents, live in extended family household arrangements, and suffering for a place of their own to call home, the PNM-led Tobago House of Assembly has opted to corruptly reward its party's cronies with the resources of the state. In Tobago, one gentleman owns more luxury vehicles than anybody in the country. One man, who is a PNM financier involved in multiples. And I wish Chalina Birchwood was on this video with me tonight, and I will contact Chalina to do a joint video tomorrow on this. The Sunshine newspapers obtained a copy of a leaked housing list from the Division of Settlements, Urban Renewal and Public Utilities. The leaked list reveals the damning conduct of the PNM-controlled THA and shows numerous PNM cronies and family members listed to receive state property unjustly, while the ordinary Tobagonian who is in desperate need of state housing continues to suffer. The leaked housing list revealed the following known PNM cronies in the lineup to receive state lands at highly subsidized prices at the Prime Corland Estate, and goes on to name those people. There is something else that I had. Here, this one. The PNM tale of two Mount Irving mansions. Who owns it? Raintree Villa. This is the question being asked by the Criminal Tax Investigation Unit regarding the sprawling property located in the exclusive community at Aurora Drive, Mount Irving, Tobago. According to a copy of the attached deed obtained by Sunshine newspapers, the last registered owners of the property at 56 Aurora Drive, Mount Irving, Tobago, are Simon Buchanan Shutter, Fiona Jean Shutter, Andrew Charles Shutter and Rachel Margaret Shutter, who purchased the sprawling mansion in March 2003 from Keith Roger Allman and Amauti Lachmin Allman. However, in 2014, the Shutter family then sold the mansion. Hear this, 2014. And to date, no deed has been registered for the transaction by the new owner and mystery purchaser. Investigations by the Sunshine newspapers have revealed that this mystery purchaser is a PNM female secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly. And the mansion was purchased at a cost of $6.5 million. Documents received by the Sunshine newspaper also revealed that the property at 56 Aurora Drive, Mount Irvin, Tobago, also known as Raintree Villa, is now the subject of a criminal investigation by the relevant authorities, as they remain baffled that no transfer in ownership has occurred since the property was sold in 2014. Prior to 2016, the property, which overlooks Pigeon Point, the Bucco Reef, and Mount Irvin Golf Course, was buzzing with activity as extensive renovations were being conducted. Personal vehicles belonging to the female PNM secretary and her husband frequented the properties. Neighbors living in the area, along with workmen carrying out renovation works, confirmed that the property did in fact belong to the PNM female secretary. How is that possible? Tobago cannot account for $1 billion in 2016 alone. The Auditor General just told the nation that they went looking for the $2.5 million spent on the zipline project and find a pile of rope. A pile of rope. Nobody knows what the $2.5 million is. The Tobago House of Assembly are saying that the Auditor General has no control over the THA. Well, blow smoke up my ass tonight, because you're getting $2.5 billion of taxpayers' money every freaking budget. So if we are giving you $2.5 billion every year because you've not submitted returns for over a decade, so that's $25 billion that was taken out of our treasury, spent on Tobago, and we don't know for what. Let it rain. That's what it's for. This is a country where a utility bought a private company from a massive corporate private enterprise, and the appointed chairman, being paid with taxpayers' dollars, said he and that company accounts to nobody by law. How is that possible? How is it possible that taxpayer funds could go into statutory organizations governed by the state, corporate soul governed by acts of parliament? How could taxpayer funds go forward into that and there be no accounting for the funds? Is this Spranger politics? Are we handing out money by the corner and not caring where it goes? A weak state may be the most prone to be captured as interest groups or even strong individuals stand by. Hello, good day. Yeah. Chalana, I'm bringing you in live, huh? Stand by. I have Chalana Birchwood here with me on the phone. I'm going to finish this paragraph. A relatively strong institutionalized state may therefore be necessary in order to avoid state capture. An institutionalized party system also may be important, for where parties are weak, traditional forms of elite interaction tend to prevail, enabling elites to capture the state apparatus. Chalana Birchwood, good evening.
Yes. Good evening. How are you doing? Happy belated birthday, by the way, just to let you know.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much. It was a busy birthday. Chalana, you're following what's going on in Tobago?
Man, I got all the goods on them. And that's why I've been putting it on over and over again. All the goods. Oh, it's worse than you think, man. It's way worse than you think. Trust me on this. And I can tell you freely, because you million was $3.5 million. Is that correction? It's not 2.5, it's $3.5 million. That's number one. Secondly, that same person was responsible for purchasing two hotels, well actually two hotels and a property. The two hotels came to be like $32 million. That was Manta Lodge, and I forgot the other one. I'll bring it up. But $32 million, and now those two hotels are totally abandoned, and all is good for is a backlatching. There's also another property that was purchased for $2.7 million in 2017. That property itself now, they may have to raise that property to the ground because that has been abandoned.
Have those owners benefited from the $100 million that Keith Rowley appropriated from taxpayer funds to make available to hotel development in Tobago?
No, nothing like that. Oh, please. They'll tell you what they got. They got zip, and zero. Okay, please. What about the $10 million that he has given to his so-called community team in Tobago for the Sanders Scandals deal? $10 million. Where is it now? That's gone. Right? There's no accounting, no accountability. Everything is like you could do whatever the hell you want because of the fact that the THA, it has a clause where basically even if you do audit them, there is no punishment to say, well, okay, you know what, they could be fined, or the government has to pull up money from them. They can't do that because there was nothing in place then when they did it to Tobago House of Assembly. And this is what these PNM people are going full tilt. Everything you can think of, they're stealing. And that woman here, whatever you said right there, that is quite correct. That's the same woman that's the same person who had posted, who had tried to make a deal with this guy, with this so-called Tobago PNM landlord called Christian Tam. Christian Tam makes Alwari look like a little boy in comparison. And trust me on this. He makes Alwari look like a little boy.
Is this the man with the fleet of luxury vehicles?
That's right. He's the one with the fleet of luxury vehicles. But you see, I know Christian Tam since I was a little boy, all the way back then. And we used to work for a major hardware company, and then yada yada yada. He got involved with the right people when the PNM came into.
But I have to interrupt your channel because as much as people want you to bust marks, we need to do this in a legal framework where.
Yes, I understand.
And no, but I'm saying this to you.
Right.
Trinidadians are looking to us in the Citizens Union, you as well, to take us beyond the talk. We have to get beyond the busting and the marks. We have to get to a point where we use the local courts to force outcomes that protect the public.
Well, here's this. Because going back to that one I was speaking about, where $165 million was supposed to be paid out for a building. For a building that you really don't need. And actually, the building was supposed to be valued at $150, but they put an extra $15 million for God knows what. But anyhow, what happened was that from my good reliable sources is that they are tabled it to the side, and that's why I wanted a Freedom of Information Act because they get to find out what happened. It is still going through it.
So you want to file you want to file a request for information?
Yes, I need a information act on it. Sure.
Well, you need to talk to Satish. He handles that on our end. So between you and Satish, let's send it because we're taking action from tomorrow on the Ministry of Public Administration for the $20 million that they were allocated to outfit Farris Building at 3 Alexandra Street.
Yeah. Well, you see, there you go. Like I said, the stealing continues. It continues.
I want to ask you if you could make yourself available tomorrow for a conference call with myself and Satish and others to identify the information that you have and what action could be taken on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago to get our money back.
Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah?
Sure. Absolutely. give me a, well, you could call me, you know how to get in contact.
Yeah, we'll shoot you a message more. Anything you want to say in closing?
Yeah, well, all I gotta say is that, you know what, our country is a beautiful country, and we could do much better. We could do much better than this. We gotta kick these people out because everything about them is corruption. They don't build anything. They take and they destroy. That's all they're good for. They take and they destroy. And all if they keep on this trajectory, we're not gonna have nothing. That's all they know. They don't know how to build. They don't know how to start from small and build something up. All they're gonna do is take and destroy. Take for themselves, and then when it's teared apart, there's nothing left for us. And we gotta put a stop. Now is the time. We gotta put a stop to this.
Indeed.
So that's all I gotta see right now. I'm much more.
Challenger, let me tell you something. I always said if I had to appoint somebody as Minister of Tobago, there are few people who have the information and the knowledge you have and the drive to make Tobago a better country. I look forward to a conversation with you that could take us forward, you, me, and Satish tomorrow. I know Satish is on the thread, so he's hearing this. So if you could shoot Satish a WhatsApp or a message on Facebook to set up the times, I'll be there for that, okay?
Yeah, Satish know me, so Satish know. No big deal. We'll do that. Let's make this happen. I'm getting sick and tired of the nonsense. Okay? Okay, there's something else I want to tell you, but we'll talk tomorrow on it.
All right, brother.
No big deal.
Take it easy.
Okay,
Thanks for calling.
Right. Nope.
I want to tell you something, right? I'm going to read something to you. Because I was talking about the P&M printing those flyers that's supposed to frighten Tobagonians. Look at Indian in the PDP. I want Tobagonians to get an idea of what that Indian did for Tobago. This is what the UNC did for Tobago. Not only did the UNC entrench the THA Act in the Constitution, but the UNC guaranteed that the THA received between 4.3 and 6.9% of the national budget every year. Enhancing Tobago's autonomy and self-government is not all the UNC did for Tobago. The UNC also completed the long-awaited Tobago Hospital, improving healthcare in Tobago, completed the Magdalena Grant, improving rooms for tourism, opened a new gas station at Roxborough, fixed the problems with obtaining land title. That was a major problem in Tobago. Improved the bus service. Initiated the $150 million upgrade for the A&R Robinson Airport. Initiated the fire station for Black Rock, still not completed by the PNM. Initiated the new Met Office, still not completed by the PNM. Opened the Tobago Technology Center at Bon Accord. Established an integrated campus for UTT. Ensured the smooth, continuous, uninterrupted running of the Sea Bridge. The PNM, on the other hand, has a long record and history of destroying the Tobagonian economy. There was a time Tobago's real estate was the most expensive on planet Earth because of cocoa. Tobago owns the only nylon pool in the world, but Tobago catching the ass for tourists. Tobago owns the largest brain coral on the planet that everybody wants to be a part of. Tobago catching the ass for tourism. Tobago owns the oldest old-growth forest in the Western Hemisphere. Tobago catching the ass for tourists. We let the sugar mill and the water wheel burn to the ground. We've destroyed paradise. We destroyed it. I have said before, Pigeon Point's jetty is so iconic. The jetty with the hut at the end of the jetty, that is Pigeon Point's jetty. That is so iconic, it has become a symbol for tropical destinations worldwide. No Man's Land is a wonder of the world that the PNM nearly destroyed to thief money from Sandals, from that Sandals project where the nation state of Trinidad and Tobago was going to spend $3 billion to build a hotel complex that we would have never gotten a return from. At some point, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road, it was going to run into financial difficulty, it was going to declare bankruptcy, and a white knight, a friend of the PNM, a financier put in place from now, would ride up and say, listen, It's unfair to the people in the area that they have nowhere to work. So give it to us and we'll spend the $150 million to open it back. And they just get $3 billion. Like was done with the gas to liquid plant that we spent $13.5 billion for and sold for $25 million as scrap iron that is now operational. That the people who were working there before, when we couldn't work it, working it now. When they got it for $25 million, we spent the $13.5 billion to buy it. The PNM has institutionalized corruption and theft in this country. There is not one, not a single PNM Prime Minister that should be anywhere but hell. Tonight, Patrick Manning took $55 million of public funds to build a church for his Dwen goddess in the bush. Only remember that? So he and her could make sweet, sweet love on the altar. That is the legacy of the PNM. Eric Williams made Johnny O'Halloran a billionaire. Johnny O'Halloran is the only Trinbagonian that affected the Toronto skyline. He owned buildings with Trinbagonian money while black mothers was fighting to find money to put shoes on her children's feet for school and something in their belly to get them through the day. So we had to come up with a school feeding program, a little box of dirty lunch. This is a nasty, nasty cult. The People's National Movement is a cancer on this country. And when I tell you something, I didn't want to join nobody else's party. I wanted to be a voice, a clear voice of justice. I wanted to be a clear voice of reason. But if we couldn't get people to see past race and come out of the racism, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We have no choice. The next best way to get the PNM out is to work with the UNC and get the PNM out. Because the PDP and the PEP and the UNC beat the PNM in the last election. So what we need to do is work together. And we need to work together and get rid of that cancer. You don't stop Tobagonians. I was thinking tonight, how do I get, when people watch it, you lose the election. That's like you standing up, laughing at the fireman because he can't get water out the hydrant and it's your house on fire. But you're laughing at the fireman. You can't get water. He can't get water out your house and burning now. I don't know what it is they did to people to get people to take that much suffering and defend it. I don't know what they did. It had to be something cruel. It had to be something obscene. We need to find it and break it. We need to emancipate people politically in this country. We need to break that shackled stronghold in those minds that make people believe that all I need to do is vote race to survive. Trinidadians should have all been millionaires. Every Trinbagonian should have had it nice. Every child. Lavantil was one of the oldest communities in Trinidad and Tobago. Lavantil was supposed to develop in step with Petty Valley and Glencoe and Valsayn and Goodwood Park. Lavantil have the best views in this country. It is where the governors chose to put the governor house. It's called Lavantil. It is named after La Ventana, the window. It is where the breeze comes in from the sea. Trinidad and Tobago, you need to wake yourself up. I had to make a decision, and this decision is my confirmed decision. I am working to support the United National Congress and to get that party into government to remove the PNM. And I'll tell you why. I have enough reasons. Because I know many of the white-collar criminals behind this PNM, and they're not easy. And if you don't stand up for Trinidad and Tobago, you will end up living in a dictatorship where you're working for and shopping by the same people. You can't make a noise. You can't raise your voice because you lost your work, you lost your house, you lost your car, you lost your wife, you lost your child. We are skating on thin ice right now. Keith Rowley told the nation his work is to get the rich richer. He said he is the prime minister of the 1%. I think the 99% of us need to tell Keith Rowley, brother, if you are not handling this nation to the benefit of all the people, we have absolutely no use for you. You're fired. Because if we can't do that, if you don't have the common sense, and I'm appealing to people my age, people in their 40s and their 50s, if you don't have the common sense to know that you have limited life, you have more life behind you than ahead of you, and if you have children, and if you have grandchildren, and if you have people that you love, that you're going to leave behind in this latrine pit, if you believe in God, if you go to a church, a temple, or a mosque at all, if you believe in anything good and decent in this world, stand up and add your voice and your strength. Help us rescue Trinidad and Tobago. Come and be a part of what we're doing in the Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago. You don't want to be political? Be an activist. Come and be a part of the Citizens Union. We are going to announce to all the people who get water bills and don't get water, send us your name. We are working with a team of lawyers to work out what it will cost to bring a class action lawsuit against WASA, the Ministry of Public Utilities, and the government of Trinidad and Tobago on behalf of all the people. You have to understand that if we don't stand together, we will perish alone. You can get information on joining the Citizens Union if you go online to our website. You could call 769-4590. You can check out citizensuniontt.org, citizensuniontt.com. You can message me and I'll forward it to all the people you need to message. You can reach out to any of the people on the threads. We are doing case management for people who have problems. If you're a member of the Citizens Union, every Tuesday, every Thursday from 10 o'clock, come to our office. You can meet with somebody face to face, or you can message us. You can contact us online. You can send us a message on Facebook. You can even do it by WhatsApp. It's up to you. We're making sure that we are going to represent our members in every which way possible. We are going to stand up against this galloping dictatorship. We, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we can do this. You see that red, white, and black at the bottom of this video? That is the national colors of Trinidad and Tobago. And if we all wrap ourselves in that, if we call ourselves one people under one flag, race and religion, and any other divider who come into it, that flag is what unites us. Stand together. Join us in the Citizens Union. Go right now on citizensuniontt.org and fill out that form and join us. Give us your voice. Give us your support. It is not enough to come on the threads and tell me, get him, hit him, we with you, we supporting you. That's talk. Seeing me in the road and getting me a big wave, running out, hugging me up, all of that I like. But if you're not part of the team, what's the point? We can't succeed if you're not on board. I am a very, very strong man. But even though I am, and we are, the strength of the wolf is the pack. And when you have problems, when shit reach in your life, you will realize the strength of the pack is the wolf. We need to stand together. If you want to talk to somebody, dial 769-4590 or WhatsApp and say, I want to sign up for the Citizens Union. Or go to citizensuniontt.net or citizensuniontt.com and fill out that form and team members will contact you. We have a responsibility to ourselves, our future, the generations to come, and this country. We cannot continue. Somebody was telling me, let the man bust mark, that's what we like. Bad talk he, bad talk she, bad talk them. And then go and eat some popcorn and sleep. But the country is turning to shit. The only way to turn it around, forget the old talk. Forget it, forget the race talk. And all you know, they have nobody in this country that truly racist. You're not, because all of us like one another. boys and girls. I watch people in this country. I don't know yet how come we are one Douglas nation. Because every time I see couples, it's mixed people all how. We don't see race. David Rudder said how we vote is not how we party. And here I used to go to the gym and I used to tell people, every time you see a bunch of people come through the door, you're seeing 3 black people and 3 Indian people or 2 Chinese people. You see mixed. I used to train and work out with 2 girls. One was Indian, one was Chinese. And they used to go running all over the place and training together. The country is not a racist country. We are not racist people. So why are we allowing racism into our politics? The last bastion of the inane and the intellectually bankrupt is separationism. Keith Rowley and his band of malcontents using you. They are lining up on you, they're riding your back. You need to love yourself enough to say, I want better for me and mine. That's why I do this. Because I want better for this country. I want to live here. I don't want to leave. I love Trinidad and Tobago. Don't you? Don't you want this country to prosper? Don't you want us to have the Trinidad and Tobago we're supposed to have? Let's stop believing in fairy tales and stop talking self-defeating bullshit. So people come on my wall and say, oh, that will never fix. Stop talking that shit on my wall. Don't you realize that that doesn't faze me? That I will not stop trying until we fix it? So don't come with your self-defeating bullshit. If you want to sit down home and pluck the lint out of your navel and play with your ingrown toenail, do that on your time. Don't come on my wall for that. On my wall, in my world, I believe that there could be a Trinidad and Tobago that lives up to the highest of all of our intentions, where every creed and race could truly find an equal place, where the children of Laventille and Westmoreland go home to the same high standard of living. I believe for that. If you want a better Trinidad and Tobago, believe. Don't just talk. Put yourself out there. Stand with us. Join with us. Don't wait for us to get our victories, because massive victory is going to come. We're not in this for shits and giggles. We know what we're doing. Don't wait for that and then come and join and then say, well, I was always with you. I don't want it. If you have to make a statement like that, you know and I know you're talking shit. I know who with me. I know the people who giving of their life and their time and their strength and their support. And they just reach out sometimes and shoot me a message. You okay, brother? Things are right. You're taking on plenty. I hear anything you need. Listen, I want to tell you something. They have a little roti shop in Santa Cruz called Roti Cafe. It's between the police station and the fire station. And years ago, I was driving through Santa Cruz, and they had a little blackboard outside that said lobster roti. And I said, nah, this can't be right. I am a rotiologist, and I never had lobster roti. So I have to have this. So I go inside. I want to see, is it in the shell? How is it done? And I ate a lobster roti from Roti Cafe. I met the owner, Sharon Sajudin, and her family. And I couldn't believe the quality of what I was eating. When I stepped back outside on the road, I felt like I was in Narnia, because there was this little shacky shed on the side of the road. A little shack of a shed, a little parlor thing. And when I bit into that roti, the skies opened and I heard the heavenly choirs sing for the first time. I understood what God meant when the curry touched the floor of my mouth. My eyes started to water. I couldn't believe I was eating something that tasted this good. I went back to Roti Cafe just to try everything else. She used to laugh at me. I said once on the radio, I said, you know what I never had? I never had curry oxtail. She texts me while I on air to say, we currying oxtail for you. Come and try it. I curry turkey by Roti Cafe. And I want to tell you why I'm telling you all of this. Because those are nice and decent people. I found out after, because she know if she tried this with me, I wouldn't accept it. But she sent pies for us. She knew that we having a little gathering or we trying to help the poor, and they would send stuff. And I didn't know that they did. They would deal with Felicia and them because they know I would tell them, no, we will pay our bill. On my birthday, I went for a roti, and you saw that I shared it. Now, they don't have Bodhi as a side on their menu. But every time I call, because they have Bodhi for breakfast sometimes, and every time I call, I ask them, hey, you have Bodhi today? And just to hear them say, no, we have Bodhi salad. So I place my order anyway, and they know it's me and I'm coming up, because when I go in for a roti, it's not just me. I had to buy roti for everybody. I had to buy roti for my mother, my father, my sister, my son, everybody getting roti. So I place the whole order, and then they hear the lobster roti, bust up shot. So, and I get there, again, all the packs of everybody's roti, and I put it in the car and I come back. And then she gives me my roti. And now a lobster roti is not cheap. It's about $65 or $70 or something. But whenever there's something here, the amount of food you get, you just have to eat it in shifts. You can't eat it in one. If you ask them for dal pari instead of bus up shot, they just give you 2 skins because of the amount of stuff that you have inside that box. And she refused to let me pay for it. And I told Sharon, I'm going to find a way to pay you back 100 times for this, because I don't ever ask anybody. I've been through my hard times. I have been through times. I've been through real lean times. I celebrated one of my son's birthday. We had birthdays, we had $5 to our name. We celebrated with 2 small Cokes and chewing gum. I could tell you, I have known hard times, and I will never take advantage of my good fortune over other people. The reason for me telling you all this, the best roti in the world is Roti Cafe. I leave Diego Martin and drive past 5 well-known brands of roti. A drive from Diego Martin to Santa Cruz is a long drive. And when I want a roti, I make that drive. I drive past Don's, I drive past Hot Shop, I drive past everybody to go Santa Cruz, because I have eaten roti everywhere. And there has never been a place as consistently good as Roti Cafe. And that has been for years. And I want all of you to go and give them business. You're not buy a lobster roti, but you could go and give them business, and you'll come back and you'll tell me, brother, that's the best roti I ever eaten in my life. Give good people your help and your support. It'll redound to your benefit in the future. That's all from me tonight. We want a better Trinidad and Tobago. All of the small business people, reach out to us, message us. We want to organize you. We want to make sure. The Citizens Union is putting out a quarterly magazine for its thousands of members every quarter. If you would like to advertise to them, if you are giving any kind of discount, any kind of bargain, then the advertising is free. We want to help you. We want to help them. We want everybody to win. If you own a big business, a chain store, a franchise, do not call me. We do not want your business. The only business people that we're dealing with is small business, mom and pops. You could be mom and pops and you own 5 branches. We want your business and we will help you. I'm not dealing with no foreign brands. I don't want no foreign franchises. I don't want nothing made outside of Trinidad and Tobago. I want to help Trinbagonians not only survive, I want to help them thrive. If you want to advertise in our magazine, message me. Send me a message on Facebook. Say I'm very interested in advertising. We will send our 1,000 members to you, but you have to give them a deal. You have to give them a benefit. That's all I'm saying. Buy one half price. Whatever you can afford, that is a deal for you, for me to send thousands of people into your store. Make sure you can handle them. Because if you deal good, sending thousands of people your way. If you're a small optician, glasses, shoes, shoe repair, seamstress, tailor, mason, carpenter, all of you, you want to be listed, it's free. Send your information. We want to give people people's numbers. We want to start back the community of Trinidad and Tobago. Because you see, when that money start to flow, so when none of the money have to go and pay franchisee, when none of, franchise holder, when none of the money have to go out of your chicken and chips or your burger or your soft drink to pay some franchise holder outside of Trinidad and Tobago, when a percentage don't have to go for your milk and your juice to Europe, the money stays in Trinidad and Tobago and builds all of us. That's where we need to be. Listen, we could have this Twin Island state could be the best place to live in the world. In 50 years, Lee Kuan Yew and Singapore moved from a drug den prostitution capital to being one of the most developed countries in the world. Singapore is a quarter the size of Trinidad and Tobago. They don't have oil, they don't have pitch, they don't have none of the things we have. Their economy just passed the mighty United States of America as the most competitive economy in the world. The whole globe going to have to rebuild after COVID-19. Let's rebuild sensibly now. Yeah? Come on board with us. Let's see what we could do from here. Until tomorrow.